Hey. Hey, I'm Alan.
Hey, I'm Rusty.
And we are two guys on a topic.
We're on episode, is it 6?
5 or 6.
5 or 6.
Yeah. Today we're going to talk about martial arts, mixed martial arts, traditional martial arts, because I've been involved in a little bit of both, more traditional than mixed. But I like mixed, and so we're just going to talk about it a little bit.
Yeah,
Talk about the benefits and negatives and that kind of stuff.
That's kind of what brought us. I guess that brought us together. It was either that or wrestling.
Beating up the shrubs. Yeah, wrestling.
Well, I mean, how we initially met.
I started at the age of 12. My dad passed away, and my mom took the insurance money and put me in Chinese American Kempo. And
how was that? That's Kempo karate, right?
Kempo karate. Ed Parker was the founder, and then the money ran out, and so did my lessons.
Well, you went from there to
Siamese Kung Fu.
Oh, see, I didn't even know this.
Yeah, Siamese Kung Fu with Sifu Godwin, and I did that for a couple years, and that was actually full contact.
How far did you get in that?
We didn't have any belts, but when we went to tournaments and stuff, he said I was classified a green belt. They had we didn't have any sashes or belts or anything, but the first couple tournaments of Taekwondo, I got in trouble for hitting too hard.
Right.
And then I did that and followed up through that. And
well, Taekwondo is more about kicking, right?
Yeah, it's 80% kicking.
Punching. And it's not really about hurting anybody either, is it?
Not really. And then in Kung Fu, we fought.
That was fighting for fighting,
yeah.
whereas Taekwondo was for points, based on
yeah.
points, like a point system.
Yeah. And so I did that, and then came up through and all that stuff, and I've been teaching for traditional for a long time. And then my son, I wanted him to do it when he was little, and he didn't. And then about 4 years ago, he started with mixed martial arts. I watched the original.
Yeah, and I did too, actually. I did too. I think we can both. And boy, was it different.
A lot different, yeah.
I know the UFC you see today, it's different in the fact that it has rules.
yeah.
Other than two.
Yeah.
The original two where you couldn't gouge the eye or you couldn't fish hook.
Right. You could hit people in the crotch.
Yeah. Crotch shots were legal.
Yeah.
Encouraged, matter of fact.
Yeah. So it's but you know, my son and I were talking. I said my son's been doing it for about 4 years now. He's out back now training a couple Hispanic fellas. But we were talking the other night about the difference between MMA and traditional martial arts. MMA, you know, the MMA community slams traditional martial arts because it's not practical, which there really is a lot of stuff that's not practical. There are benefits, obviously, to both. The benefit of the mixed martial arts is practicality. I mean, what you learn works.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
But there's no, and again, I'm not saying there aren't people that are like this. I'm sure there are, but it's lesser in MMA than it is in traditional martial arts. And I've met some butt heads in traditional martial arts too.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. But where
I've met butt heads working at a gas station.
Yeah, they don't have character. You know what I mean? It's all about fighting.
It's serious.
It's not.
They
about,
take themselves too serious.
Yeah. Whereas in traditional martial arts, the men that trained me, I felt like they cared about me as a person, and you know, I mean, and the traditional stuff was more to try and build inner character. People like when I first watched when I watched the UFC, the first one.
I've got the sniffles.
And I saw Hoist Gracie. You know, I mean, and I was like, what is he doing? You know?
I tell you, when I first saw Hoist Gracie, I'm thinking, who in the heck is Hoist Gracie?
Yeah.
I don't know who that is, but Royce Gracie's in there kicking some butt.
Royce. Yeah. I was like, who's this Royce Gracie guy? And they were like, he likes to be on the ground. And I was like, why does he want to do that?
Well, he did too, man.
And then he choked somebody out.
And this was before they had a time limit.
Right.
No round. There was no rounds. You got in there and you fought until there was a winner.
Right.
And he would lay there and
lay there until he found the opening. And so this was when it was just becoming popular. It wasn't even popular, but it was just, and so this
was 95, I think.
93 is when the first UFC was.
That old?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I remember it because the first one I watched, I was a school teacher.
Okay.
And the boys in one of my classes, they were like, Mr. Ambrose, come over to our house and watch it with me. And I went over there and watched it, and they were climbing all over me like I was a tree. These little ninth graders were trying to take me down and stuff. It was martial arts probably saved my life. One of the things that saved my life, because that's what I invested my life in, and that's what my son's done. That's what he's doing now. He's kind of picked up.
All right. So your initial impression was it? Did you like it?
Oh yeah, I really liked it.
I got a kick out of it too.
I mean, a lot of people said it was
barbaric
and stuff. And like the first time Penny watched it with me, my wife, it was when that sumo guy.
Yeah, I don't remember his name.
Got his
tooth kicked out.
Tooth kicked out by that Jardo guy.
And he was the same one that was continuous hammer fist.
No, that was a different one. No, that was Keith Hackney. I remember that.
When he was hitting him right here in the back of the head,
hand.
which is illegal now to hit back here because
Yeah.
you're gonna kill somebody.
But this guy was up against the cage and he football kicked him and his tooth went flying out and his mouth was bleeding and Penny was like,
and I remember I think it was either Dateline or 2020 that was doing an expose on that, and they had him on there, and I don't remember where he was from.
He's French. The kicker was French.
No, who was the big guy? Because he was the one on there. Because I will never forget, he was sitting there and he's kind of smiling. And he said, "What happened in there?" He goes, "He kicked my tooth out."
You know, what's funny to me, I'll tell you the truth now, is back in the day when we first got internet and stuff, or on TV, you know, ESPN wouldn't touch it.
No.
Wouldn't touch it.
Absolutely not.
And I'd get on and look at the news online and stuff.
You couldn't find nothing.
You couldn't find anything.
It was because it was illegal everywhere.
But I mean,
And it's still illegal in New York, isn't it?
Yeah, they just tried to pass it. They were sure it was going to pass, and it didn't pass.
And I can't quite figure out why it hasn't passed yet. Because now, I mean, we fast forward, and it's a sport. ESPN covers it now. Yahoo Sports covers it. It shows up on ESPN. If there's a big fight, and in all honesty, right now, it gets more coverage than boxing does. And I used to love boxing, but now it's not. I don't know, and it's a good thing for guys like collegiate wrestlers who don't have
anywhere to go after.
No, because where did you go?
Yeah,
one or two of them maybe went to professional wrestling, but it's different. Yeah. That's apples and oranges. It's not the same, and everybody knows that. But you go to something here where you can use a skill, and I tell you what, and there's an argument that may be made. Some may say jiu-jitsu, but the amateur wrestlers seem to do better overall than anybody.
And I think
Dan Severn was the Don Fry.
And I think it's because of the grind. Again, the grind. Not that jiu-jitsu doesn't have a grind to it.
No.
But, wrestling is about domination.
And that explosion. Right.
Well, and that's where the domination comes from. And jiu-jitsu is about...
it's more of a defense and wait on somebody to...
Well, it's more of a... What's the word? It's like chess.
Yeah.
It's more strategic.
Right.
So wrestling's about dominating somebody, getting on them and dominating them, showing boom. Jiu-jitsu is more about strategically planning a hand, 5 moves ahead, and knowing where you're going to go and what you can do. And
that's why I would be bad at it.
Me too.
I would get 2 moves in. I'd be like, when you compare the two mixed martial arts, going back to it again, the old kind and the more structured kind now, what do you like better?
I like some of the things of the new stuff.
Uh-huh.
I like the fact that they do have some rules. But I also liked...
What do you miss about the old?
The edge of watching these little guys beat these behemoths.
You're talking about...
In the old days.
No weight classes.
Right. Like Hoist Gracie, going up against Chemo.
Yeah, I don't really have a problem with that either. And, I think they should have more. And they had the catch weight fight with, if you want to call it that, with Kimbo Slice and Ken Shamrock. Yeah. And, well...
Yeah. And I tell you,
that was what it was.
I'm getting now to where, everybody's always hurt. They're training so hard.
We were talking about that.
I'm just getting disgusted with it.
It gets to the point now where you're injured. And they used to be the one-night tournaments where, But I didn't like that because I remember watching some tournaments and, I think it was even in possibly the final match were the two guys that made it to the end. One guy was hurt. Well, what did we do? We just brought in. We're bringing in a replacement.
We're bringing a guy that's been sitting in the back. Yeah, we're bringing a guy that's been sitting in the back for 3 hours eating chips.
I don't. Well, I hope he's eating chips. I'll have a better chance.
You don't even know who this guy is, but he's been in the back waiting in case somebody gets hurt.
Right.
Alternative.
Yeah, and you win that, and that's not a win. I like it better now, by far.
Well, and I do too, to tell you the truth. I really do.
But I do miss.
But there are some things.
I do miss that though. I would love to see. So I would love to see and it can like a St. Pierre versus I don't know.
Yeah.
But now it's like these guys. You almost can't do that now.
Yeah.
Because everybody is so. Sure, you had a sumo guy in there. He knows sumo. Well, he knows nothing about jiu-jitsu and doesn't know how to defend it.
Right. See, back in the day,
yes,
everybody had their own thing, and that was really it. And that's why the whole thing was created in the first place.
And that's why now I don't think you can do that
to showcase Gracie jiu-jitsu. But now everybody is so rounded.
I'll tell you what we were talking about, the difference in the old MMA as opposed to the new. Which do you obviously prefer the new?
I prefer the new stuff just because like. In the early 90s when it first started, the big thing was which style is better. That's how it started, is karate versus savate versus jiu-jitsu versus everything else. And it was like, back then it was okay for you to be good at one particular aspect of it. Whether you had a good ground game or a good stand-up game, it didn't matter who you were fighting unless it was Royce Gracie because everybody was scared of Royce Gracie. But as time has evolved, the whole jiu-jitsu thing kind of caught on, and now it's more or less a necessity. It's kind of, over the years, it's gone through phases. Like, when Machida was big on the game, everybody was like, oh, okay, this guy does karate, we need to learn some karate, and people started adding karate techniques to their game.
Right.
And then, obviously, jiu-jitsu, like I said, jiu-jitsu with Royce Gracie started the whole thing with, we need to understand this whole Brazilian jiu-jitsu thing, and then from there, it's just kind of came on. You got punchers.
You got to work on your stand-up game or your boxing skills.
Yeah, exactly. You have to have a solid boxing foundation if you don't have a kickboxing foundation. But the point, you have to have one discipline or the other. You have to either have wrestling or jiu-jitsu or judo or some sort of ground fighting capability as well as a stand-up capability. And the more MMA modernizes, the more you have to have all of it. All the big names now, a majority of them train stand-up. They have, whether it be boxing or kickboxing, grappling and jiu-jitsu. And then they also are training wrestling because they realize that if you don't have takedowns and you get put up against a good wrestler like Chris Weidman or something like that, it's hard to get up. If you can't stand up, you can't fight.
Because they know how to control the body.
Exactly.
Right. And that was kind of a thing. And one thing he said he missed, your dad said he missed, was the kind of like the circus fights with the big guys and the smaller guys, which was fun. But I was telling him, I said, I don't think you can really do that now because it's evolved to where everybody knows all the skills.
Yeah.
You can't have a jiu-jitsu guy beating up a big sumo guy because now the big guys know jiu-jitsu too and they know how to defend them.
And with that too, there's still certain areas like around here a big place for people to go fight is Virginia because right now Virginia they have a boxing commission, but their boxing commission doesn't control the mixed martial arts commission like North Carolina does. So in Virginia you can go down and fight full rules MMA, which is head kicks, elbows to the head, all the big knees to the face, all these big dangerous strikes that you can't do in North Carolina as an amateur.
Well, so the North Carolina restrictions are?
In the state of North Carolina, as an amateur fighter, not as a professional, but as an amateur, you're not allowed to throw elbows to the head, knees to the face, or elbows or kicks to the head. Which from what I understand, the North Carolina Commission actually just changed the rules for amateur kickboxing. Where now in kickboxing, because it's pretty big tool in the arsenal of Thai boxers, you're allowed to throw head kicks in amateur fights. Right. I think they're going to require you to wear headgear from now on, but that actually just changed like 2 months ago.
Okay.
From what I understand. Whereas in Virginia, you can go down and it's just like fighting in the UFC.
Right.
You can knees to the face, kicks to the head, everything. And there's a lot of guys that do that. I know of a lot of Thai gyms around here that actually take their fighters down to Virginia to fight just so they can fight full rules. I have issues with that though because they don't require. State of North Carolina, before you can fight as an amateur or professional, they require a eye exam to make sure that you don't have a detached retina or anything funky going on with that. And they require blood testing for any transmittable diseases.
That's good.
Whereas if you go to Virginia, you go up, you go in. Sometimes you sign a contract. Sometimes you just show up and they're like, "All right, here you go."
There's no blood testing or anything? No. Man, I thought that would be mandatory.
That's
you would
why.
think.
That's why I don't
They
want
don't
to fight
bleed
in
in
Virginia.
Wow.
That's the rules. You can't bleed in Virginia.
My home state.
You can't. It's kind of. I haven't heard about anything bad happening as far as that goes, but I've heard. I've heard and I've seen some videos of some guys that had no business fighting at all, and it was just like, okay, we'll let you fight, and they just got beat down.
Well, what do they do? I mean, if somebody's busted open, they just stop it immediately, I guess, right?
There's no commission. That's the thing here.
Well, I misunderstood when you said no bleeding in Virginia.
No,
He was just being.
just being me.
No, in Virginia, tough man competitions are all governed by the North Carolina Boxing Commission. Whereas if you go to Virginia, there's no commission. They have their own refs.
So they basically just got their own little club, and they go around, kind of like the Big Top.
Yeah.
Go sit up a tent, fight.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Like
if
the
you, I'm
backyard
not going to
stuff.
mention any organizations, but I mean, you can get on certain organizations' websites and look at it, and they'll have fighters like standing in a legitimate gym with their coaches like ready to go, and it'll be like, and his opponent, and you'll have some guy sitting on a picnic bench with boxing gloves in his backyard next to the river, like.
Yeah, but some of those backyard river guys are pretty tough.
Well, I mean,
And they're disciplined.
there's guys around here that have come. I know of a couple guys personally that have come from here, and they didn't want to mess with getting a license or anything, so they just went to Virginia and fought. And I mean, it really depends. If you're just a mean individual, sometimes you can get away with squeezing out a fight or two, but eventually you're gonna have to fight somebody who knows what they're doing.
Right.
That mean, tough, eyes closed, throwing haymakers stops working.
Right. When technique comes in, and yeah, gosh, wow.
And then kicking to the head stuff. I don't know why they don't let everybody kick to the head.
Especially in kickboxing.
Well, because kicking to the head's not as easy.
Yeah, odds in you landing something really good.
Yeah,
Unless you're really good. Unless you
I
are
would
really
say
good.
You have to be a kicker
Yeah.
to do that. You
But
know what I mean? There are guys that used to be that couldn't even get their foot up to my head. I mean, knock the snot out of me with their hands.
Right now I could.
But yeah.
You're sitting down.
to not only get it up there, but get it where you want it to go.
When I first started doing it, I would go to training sessions, and I got a couple of buddies in Wilkesboro that actually fight at an amateur level pretty consistently.
Right.
And the first time I sparred with him, I kicked him in the head like 4 times, and he stopped me. He was like, "I don't do that," and I was like,
You know we can't do that.
"This is an MMA fight." And he's like, "Well, in the state of North Carolina, we can't." As amateurs, we're not allowed to throw kicks to the head. He said, "If I'm getting ready for a fight and it doesn't do me any good for you to try and throw head kicks,
Right.
if I'm not going to have to defend them." So, I mean, it kind of is good in a sense, but at the same time, I feel like it's detrimental when you're moving up to a pro level because you get used to people kicking you in the body and in the legs. That's all you're going to think about.
Yeah, and I guess it's kind of akin to amateur boxing in a way with wearing the headgear. But you're still hitting to the head, so you'd know to,
And
you're
in North
right.
Carolina, they don't make you wear, as an amateur, in amateur boxing, they'll make you wear headgear, but in an amateur MMA fight, there's no headgear and no shin pads.
Right.
Whereas if you fight, most of the time in Virginia, again, just for the sake of it, I have another friend who lives in Virginia and fights in Virginia as a amateur Muay Thai fighter, and they make them wear shin pads and headgear,
Okay.
and it's different. It's a different perspective, really, because the way that he does it, they train his first fight that he had. He went in expecting it to be a full rules Thai fight because that's what it was supposed to be, and they got there and they told him, "Well, your opponent doesn't want to fight full rules anymore." I don't know if he got scared or if he just, because that's your brain. It's a pretty important thing. They can't really replace that.
Oh,
but
absolutely. So, I know you've done jiu-jitsu. I know you've worked with the wrestling team up here. What else have you worked on?
I do a little bit of Taekwondo stuff with him here and there when his knee's not bothering him.
Swollen up.
I've done primarily. I've always liked the Donald the Cowboy Cerrone just because his stand up is bad enough to where he can do whatever he wants to on his feet. There's not a whole lot that you can do with him, and he doesn't really do a whole lot of wrestling, just because his jiu-jitsu game is so high level. Well, like who was it that he just fought not too long ago? The dude that was undefeated. Miles Jury. He fought Miles Jury. When he fought Miles Jury, he was beating the crap out of Miles Jury on his feet, and then I don't remember who initiated the takedown, but they ended up on the ground, and Donald Cerrone spent the remainder of the round on his back with a body lock, pelting him in the head. And I mean, he really just made him look foolish because he has such a diverse level of grappling and kickboxing, and that's always what I've wanted to be like. So I never really, like you said, I've worked on some Taekwondo kicks. I really like to throw spinning wedge kicks, but other than that, I stick predominantly to Muay Thai kickboxing and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Right.
And I haven't really trained as much Jiu-Jitsu here lately just because it's so hard to find partners out here now. Like, everybody around here, not everybody, but a lot of the people around here are beginners. And it helps me to practice the things that I know, but it doesn't really help me in the sense that it doesn't present as much of a challenge as it could. When I roll with purple belts and brown belts and black belts, I get submitted hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times in a matter of minutes. But it presents me with a new challenge, and it shows me something new, and it helps me to develop the little stuff that I need.
Right.
And I really...
It's hard to progress.
Exactly.
It's kind of like playing a video game that you've beaten 1,000 times. It's like, where do you go from here?
Exactly.
Without having somebody, you know...
But I've been fortunate enough to where I have there's a purple belt down in Wilkesboro that I used to train with on a regular basis, and I'm supposed to start up again this Thursday. I'll be working with him a lot, and he's gracious enough to where he'll show me the stuff and he'll let me work the stuff and make sure that I'm doing it right. And at the same time, he's got my welfare. He's got my health wise. He's got my best. He's got the best intentions.
Best interest in your well-being.
Exactly.
He's the only one the one I was talking about earlier, the only one that
wasn't, as you put, a butthead.
Yeah, because I mean, when I go, I've trained at other local gyms in the area, and again, I don't want to put any of them on blast, but there's several gyms in the area that I've been to where when I roll with people, I'll be like, listen, I just had a disc replaced in my neck. I had a disc fusion. I don't need anybody pulling or tugging or anything. So if you catch me with a guillotine or whatever, I mean, I'm gonna try and get out, and if I can't get out, I'm gonna tap. You don't need to crank it.
Right.
But a lot of people, like I said, especially around here, there's a lot of people at a beginner's level that don't care.
They want to make themselves look.
Yeah, well, and I think another thing with that is it was like that in traditional martial arts too. We always used to say most of the time you get hurt by the beginners.
Because they don't know what they're doing.
They don't know what they're doing. They have no control. They don't know what they're doing. Whereas, if you're going up against another black belt, he can control his power. He can control his technique. These white belts are flailing and... So in reality, an experienced fighter is actually more predictable than somebody. Typically,
in a way.
Well, in traditional sense,
you can more anticipate what they're going to do.
Right.
I mean, as far as
right.
At that level, rather than somebody coming in and just.
Unless you're fighting somebody who, like in traditional martial arts, it'd be like this. If it was me and him, and I knew he liked to fight hard, and he knew I like to fight hard, we'd say, okay, you're ready. You ready? Okay, good. We're going to go for it. You know what I mean? And then you just throw, and it was on.
Right.
No hard feelings. You're just gonna. But there were other times when you'd be with a guy you didn't know, and you'd be like, ready? And you're like, okay, I'm gonna take it. In your head you're thinking, I'm gonna take it easy because I don't want to.
But you don't know what he's thinking.
And then all of a sudden, bam! And you're like, oh, now it's on.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then pretty soon, so. I mean,
and that's one of the biggest obstacles you face with training mixed martial arts, because you got people. Everybody wants to beat up an MMA fighter. Everybody wants to do it. So it's like, I've been doing this stuff for a long time. When I'm in the gym, my goal is not to show you how much better I am than you. My goal is to help you get better and improve my skills in a way that is effective for both of us.
Right.
But at the same time, if I come in, and I tell everybody this before we stand up spot, I'll say, listen, I'm throwing as hard as you're throwing. And all I'm going to do, I'm going to hit you just enough to let you know that I hit you without knocking you silly. and I expect the same respect in return.
Right.
And we'll go. And most of the time, if it's somebody that's pretty new, you know, if it gets to the point where they can't control their power, but it doesn't, I don't know what else they're going to do. Generally, I'll just keep them away because I can do that.
Right.
But if I got a guy who's moving, just throwing hard, doesn't understand the concept of slow, I'll tell him, be like, listen, man, you need to calm it down. Go, okay, you know, whatever. Then I'll tell him 2 or 3 times, listen, man, you need to calm it down. But if you keep throwing hard, I'm going to start throwing hard back.
It's time to wake somebody up and let them know.
The truth is, with the way that mixed martial arts is nowadays, everybody thinks, and that's one of the things that I really don't like about it, is the fact that you got guys that come in and want to, again, they want to throw hard, but this is a gym. I'm not here to fight. The fight's later. You know, I'm not here to throw down, but they just want to.
If mixed martial artists constantly fought at the level they fought in at the cage, they would never be able to fight.
Yeah, because like you get hit by a car. There's days when I come home from a jiu-jitsu class. In the past, there have been times where I would go to the gym and kickbox from like 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock. And then from 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock, we would do jiu-jitsu. And I mean, there were a couple days where I was rolling with blue belts and purple belts, and I would get up and I would literally have to wear a knee brace and duct tape the knee brace through my leg and duct tape my ankles just so I could walk from my leg locks and the leg kicks and things like that.
Right.
It's just, that's the nature of the beast. It's a hard sport, and you're going to wear your joints out doing it, which is why we put such an emphasis on taking it easy. But like I said, there's guys that come in off the street and they just want to fight. And it's different if you tell me that you just want to fight. If you just want to fight, I'll fight you.
Right.
But when you come in and we're in a sparring setting and I'm expecting something soft, you punch me in the nose and break my nose, it's on.
Right.
Exactly.
My Kung Fu instructor back in the day, he said, you ever play, you know, you get up a game of tackle football?
Yeah.
He said, rarely does anybody ever get hurt.
Right.
He said, but then you get a game of touch football going, and what happens? People get hurt because your guard is down.
Yeah.
Because you're thinking we're playing touch or flag football.
Some idiot season opening.
And some idiot hit you.
Yeah.
And he said that's the way it is with martial arts. He said, so you got to be careful when you're, you know, and he was a full-on guy. I mean, when you fought with him, you.
Right.
But I mean, you knew that. So I mean, when you squared up with him, you knew that you were going to fight, and he made it plain, so you always did that. But yeah,
So you've been doing this for like 4 years now, right?
Yeah. I had to take a year off.
Now, right?
What was it, going on 5?
It's going on 5, but I had to take a year off for this too.
Oh, that's right. You had the neck surgery.
So.
Yeah, that's my son. I forgot about that.
But it's been going on for about 4 years now.
What made you want to start?
I was just angry, and he told me that I could punch people in the face, and I was like, all right.
Well, it's an outlet.
Yeah, and I mean, it was one of those things where I started doing it, and there wasn't really anything that made me feel the way the martial arts did.
Right.
I could feel good about myself, and I could get some exercise, and it was just fun.
Right.
No, I really liked the jiu-jitsu aspect of things when I first started. The guy that we first started with was kind of rough, so I didn't like the stand-up fighting as much because I would just get beat up all the time.
Right.
But in reality, now looking back on it now, I'm kind of thankful for the experience because after you get beat up by somebody who knows what they're doing for so long, it kind of takes the edge off with other guys. Like when you go to the gym and they match you up, sometimes I have to spar with heavyweights, which heavyweights are slower, but if they hit you,
you know it
hurts. But I mean, it doesn't. I'm thankful for those experiences just because once you get used to that, there's not really. You get used to training with a professional, and it's not really anything to fight with those guys anymore.
Right.
Yeah, and once you get knocked out.
Yeah. I mean.
What else can they do to you?
Yeah.
Unless you die, and then you don't know. But I mean, if you get knocked
what
out.
What were we talking about, Machida?
Yeah.
After he got knocked out, what was it? He got clocked a couple more times, didn't he?
He got elbowed until he was limp.
That's what can happen. That's what they can do to you after they knock you out.
It.
But I mean,
you don't feel it while you're asleep.
When you wake up,
that's the thing. Like, really, once you come,
pretty sure he's feeling it.
Once you come to terms with the fact that that's literally like the worst thing he can do, unless again,
odds are.
Yeah, with the jiu-jitsu and stuff, there's the potential for your arm to get broken.
Yeah,
but if you don't have an ego and you're willing to accept it when it comes, it's a different ballgame. You know what I mean? Because the worst thing you can do to me in a stand-up fight is knock me out.
Right.
And odds are you're gonna hit me. I'm gonna go to sleep, and I'm gonna wake up with a headache.
Right.
Now I might not remember what happened for a day or two, but that
possible concussion.
But I mean, in reality, that's the worst that can happen.
Yeah.
Like you can't. Heaven forbid you kill me, but.
And in MMA fights, I mean that's kind of my argument with why boxing is still legal and MMA is not, as especially is New York the only state left?
Yeah, New York's the only state left.
I do not understand that.
And that's
because in reality, I mean, I wonder what the percentage of MMA fights end in a knockout is, and what percentages end in a submission. Because in boxing, it's constantly focusing on beating the crap out of somebody's head. Yes.
And I mean, the bottom line with that kind of stuff is, in boxing, MMA is actually safer than boxing.
That's what I was getting at.
In MMA, when you get hit, you go down, and the referee checks you, and the referee can step in and stop at any time if you're not defending yourself intelligently.
Right.
And that's at the referee's discretion. But I mean, nowadays we have such good programs to train referees for that kind of stuff. It's pretty unavoidable. In an amateur fight, before you fight an amateur fight, the referee will come to you and they'll say, listen, you're an amateur fighter. If you're not defending yourself, I will stop the fight. You can watch amateur. I've been to amateur events and seen it happen before. There'll be guys up against the cage getting hit, and the referee will come over and say, listen, you need to do something or I'm going to stop this.
Right.
Whereas with boxing, it doesn't matter. I've done the boxing thing before too, and when you get hit in boxing, I didn't have a clue where I was at.
That's the problem. I mean, who knows if you're really defending yourself intelligently?
Yeah.
Because you could be on Dream Street. I've heard boxers say they don't remember anything after certain rounds.
I mean, I legitimately, I got hit the first time.
That was the tough man contest.
Yeah, I got hit and I went down, and I got up, and from my perspective, they sent me back to my corner. And I remember being in my corner, but I remember it struck me as odd because my opponent came out of a corner adjacent to mine, and I didn't understand why my opponent was coming out of a corner adjacent to mine. And I was like, it didn't make sense. I was like, this is
what I remember is you started to get out of the ring, and the guy was like, "Get back in, brother. You're still in. Here's your helmet."
He knocked your helmet off.
Yeah, that's what it probably was.
It flew.
I'd like to say that it wouldn't have gone that way if I'd been able to see. But in the first round, I got my headgear knocked backwards.
Okay.
And he continued to hit me when I couldn't see. And then he knocked it off, and he stopped hitting me. And I looked at him and looked at the referee, and he turned around and looked at the referee, and the referee would just kind of was like.
You didn't know. I don't understand that. Why didn't he just?
It's a blood sport. Like they don't care about that kind of stuff. They want to see somebody get knocked out, and that's exactly what I was. I was the fall boy because he looked at the referee and he looked back at me and he hit me again, and my hands were at my waist, so I hit the floor.
Wow.
And then they picked me up and I walked back to my corner because I thought the fight was over.
Yeah, that's why you started to get out of the ring.
He walked me back to the corner and he was like, "Where are you going?" And I was like, "It's over, isn't it?" He said, "Not if you don't want it to be. You want to keep fighting?"
And you said, "Yeah," because I was right there. Because I was in there, and you were like, "Yeah." You turned around with that guy, and I was like, "Man."
Wow.
But I mean, I wanted to fight.
Yeah.
I still to this day, I still feel like I got kind of the short end of the stick.
Of course, it would have been better if you could have seen everything.
Yeah.
If your headgear, I don't understand that at all. It looks like there needs to be a protocol for that. But like you said, it's the tough man is what it is.
And I mean, I'm not taking anything away from my opponent because he was a big guy and he hit hard.
Right.
He was a really big guy, but like I said, it was partially my fault. I didn't do enough research into the preparation. When they talk about fighting, rule number one is you fight how you train, because if you fight how you train, you'll be fine. Whereas I didn't train with headgear because I didn't realize that we were going to have to wear headgear, and then I got there and they put headgear on me, and it was.
And your training partner was.
Yeah, but I mean.
Wow.
That didn't really bother me though, like I said, because at that point in time, there was honestly, truthfully, 100% nothing I could have done better aside from working with a real boxing coach.
Not working with your dad.
But at the same time, I did more than he did. I did more training than he did.
Yeah.
I was throwing weights every night, shadow boxing. I was doing.
Oh yeah, I know you were.
Right before we went, I was doing 10 3-minute rounds before the fight. It was just a matter, like I said, I didn't I didn't do enough research into the event to see what I was going to be wearing, what I was going to have to be doing. So it ended up playing to my disadvantage. Had I worn headgear and had I sparred with people wearing headgear, that might have been something that would have been a little more, something I would have been a little more prepared for.
Do you want to do like do you want to do actually the competition in the MMA? Well, not the tough man, but in the MMA like they do it around here.
See,
do you want to do that?
I've always wanted to do that, and it seems like every opportunity I've had, one thing or another has come up to prevent me from doing it.
Right.
But at the point now, the way that the whole neck thing kind of played out, it's gotten to the point where I don't really enjoy doing jiu-jitsu anymore. Because before, you could choke me, and if I could keep some of the pressure off, it didn't. There was things that I could do that could prevent me from letting you finish it, and I could continue on my way. Now if I get choked with the injuries that I've sustained,
you got something to worry about.
I can feel it. My whole game plan has changed. I go from my mindset used to be, okay, this isn't that bad, to it's like a fight or flight response, and my first instinct is to get off me, because as soon as you grab my neck, my priorities change. Because that surgery was not a fun period of my life. I don't want to spend another 8-9 months without being able to do anything. It's just my whole prerogative has changed. So I don't like the idea of getting in there and working my butt off and then getting caught with a guillotine choke in the first round and being like,
exactly, yeah.
But since that's happened, I've gravitated a lot more into the Thai boxing, and I honestly, truthfully think that I could Thai box and be all right.
Okay.
Because I've done training with the clinch and all the stuff that kind of affects that, and it's not the same sensation. When I get choked, I can literally feel the hardware in my neck separating. Like I can feel it. I can feel everything going. It's not a good feeling. But
wow. Well, that's cool, man. And if you ever decide to do it, best of luck to you.
Yeah, man.
So
they're trying to. I've been talking to Brandon right now, trying to figure out what we're gonna do. I'm supposed to go over there on Thursday night and work out with them again.
That's all
And we'll see where things go from there. But he was talking about a Thai fight for me, and I trust Brandon. I think Brandon, if he finds me an opponent and tells me that I'm ready to fight, then I'm ready to fight. I believe in his judgment. I have faith in his perspective of things. So if he thinks I'm ready to fight, I'll fight.
Okay. Well, yeah. Okay.
All right.
I guess we'll wrap it up.
We've been on a long time.
Go ahead. I'm going to put all this together too. It's going to be probably a long process. But I'm off for 2 days, so hey,
Are you?
Yeah. It's been great. It's always fun to do this. I don't know what we'll do next time.
Yeah.
I don't know. You have to come back.
Yeah.
What do you want to do?
I don't know. Something that I know. Something that I have some knowledge about, preferably. I mean, I can make stuff up. I'm pretty good at that.
Yeah, we'll just do that.
He could be the guy that comes in every week in a different costume.
That would be good.
We got a cowboy with us today.
Howdy, y'all.
Today we have a alligator hunter.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thanks again for being on, and here's your money for the show. Thanks for coming
thank
on.
you.
You get paid for coming on. So.
Fair guess. So.
Oh my God. Well, I guess that's it.
You guys, new topic.
Until next time. So long for now.